Let's delve into a fundamental truth that most people overlook when analyzing the grand theater of international politics: geography. I'm not just talking about maps, borders, and capital cities. I'm talking about what lies beneath the surface. The silent, unmoving force that dictates leverage, shapes influence, and grants advantages. In this high-stakes game, Pakistan's location is its most formidable asset. It's no exaggeration to say that this single factor is one of the primary reasons America continues its open support for Pakistan, even when it means ruffling the feathers of a rising global power like India. To truly grasp this, we need to zoom out and look at the bigger picture. Since the end of the Second World War, America's global strategy has been built on a simple principle: proximity to pressure points. It strategically positions itself wherever it can monitor rivals, influence events, and maintain its standing as the world's foremost power. And here, Pakistan presents a geographic jackpot. It sits at the volatile intersection of China, Afghanistan, Iran, and India, nerve center for any superpower wanting to keep its hand in the game. Think about it. To Pakistan's west lies Afghanistan, a nation where America invested 2 decades, trillions of dollars, and countless lives. The U.S. withdrawal didn't erase those deep-seated strategic interests. It merely changed the method of engagement. With boots off the ground, America still requires a foothold for intelligence gathering, logistical access, and operational oversight in the region. Pakistan, whether through willing cooperation or calculated manipulation, offers that critical doorway. And let's not pretend this is an act of charity. It is a transaction, plain and simple. Pakistan receives aid, diplomatic recognition, and advanced weaponry. In return, the United States gets invaluable positioning. Now turn your gaze to the north, China. In the eyes of Washington, China is the most significant long-term challenger to American global dominance. And what is the flagship project of China's global ambition, the Belt and Road Initiative? A massive portion of it, the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor (CPEC), runs directly through Pakistan. This is a staggering investment of over $60 billion, a modern-day Silk Road connecting Western China to the Arabian Sea. For China, it promises faster trade routes and expanded military access. For Washington, it's a development that scares them more than most people realize. That fear, however, creates an opportunity. By supporting Pakistan, America gains a front row seat to observe and perhaps even counter China's relentless expansion. It's a classic case of keeping your friends close and your rival's closest partner even closer. The Indian paradox: why values take a backseat to utility. This is where the lens shifts and a logical question arises. But isn't India more powerful, more democratic, more aligned with Western values? Shouldn't America be backing India? On paper, yes. In theory, absolutely. But this is where the cold calculus of geopolitics collides with psychology. India, despite its growing partnerships with the West through frameworks like the Quad and various tech agreements, staunchly refuses to be anyone's puppet. It is fiercely, unapologetically independent. It maintains robust trade with Russia, defends its own national interests with vigor, and charts its own course, even when that course doesn't perfectly align with Washington's agenda. This self-reliance is admirable, but for a superpower accustomed to calling the shots, it's also incredibly inconvenient. Pakistan, on the other hand, has historically understood how to play the game. Its military and intelligence apparatus have a decades-long history of cooperation with the United States. And even when the relationship fractures, as it did following the raid that killed Osama bin Laden, it always inevitably rebounds. Why? Because America knows that when it comes to regional access, Pakistan is indispensable. Its unique terrain, its porous borders, its strategic ports, and even its political fragility make it a nation that can be negotiated with, influenced, and, when necessary, pressured. This isn't a partnership forged in the fires of shared values. It's a partnership built on cold, hard utility. Let's go even deeper into the psychology of a superpower. Nations at that level don't operate on sentiment. They operate on risk calculus. The defining question is always, where do we have the most control? Supporting Pakistan provides the U.S. with a controllable, if sometimes unstable, ally. India, while immensely valuable, is not controllable. It is confident, it is rising, and to some in the Western establishment, that confidence can look like a threat. So, while the United States publicly showers India with praise, it simultaneously hedges its bets by making strategic investments in Pakistan. This duality is not an accident, it is by design. It fosters a delicate balancing act in South Asia, ensuring that no single regional power becomes strong enough to dominate completely. This balance keeps America relevant. It keeps American arms flowing. It keeps the American presence vital. And most importantly, it ensures that any major regional conflict, especially between India and Pakistan, will ultimately require American mediation. That isn't peacekeeping, it's power, brokering, and all of this. Every single piece of this intricate puzzle hinges on Pakistan's location. Its proximity to rival states, its access to critical airspace and sea routes, its role as a buffer zone, a corridor, a geopolitical hinge. If you take away the map, Pakistan is just another developing nation facing immense challenges. But with the map, it becomes a pawn worth protecting, even if it means undermining a stronger, more democratic ally like India. This reveals a profound lesson about the world we live in. In the arena of global diplomacy, power isn't always about brute strength. It's about position. And when a superpower like America sees a country like Pakistan sitting on a geopolitical goldmine, it doesn't matter how unstable, corrupt, or conflicted that country may be. What matters is that it is useful. Global alliances, remember this, are not built on trust. They are built on leverage. And in our world today, geography remains the most underrated form of leverage there is. Let that settle in, because the next time you see a headline that seems irrational, support for the wrong side, aid flowing into a broken system, alliances that appear backward, you'll understand. It's not irrational, it's strategic. America doesn't play favorites, it plays positions. Arms dependency and the psychology of influence. Let's talk about a form of power that doesn't scream but whispers. A power that hides in plain sight. Military dependence. When we examine the flow of arms, technology, and strategic loyalty, we uncover a deeper reason why America consistently shows up for Pakistan, even when it seems to contradict its other alliances and stated values. The truth is, military dependence is one of the most effective, time-tested tools of international influence. It's not flashy or emotional, it's transactional, and it works with ruthless efficiency. Let's break this down. India is, without question, a rising superpower. It boasts one of the largest militaries in the world and is making incredible strides in technology, space exploration, and cyber defense. But what sets India apart is its fierce commitment to diversification. It does not want to be dependent on any single nation, especially not the United States. India buys arms from Russia, France, and Israel. It invests heavily in developing its own domestic defense ecosystem. This entire strategy is designed to grant it one thing: freedom, not favor. That kind of autonomy is powerful, but from Washington's perspective, it's also inconvenient. You see, America doesn't just want allies, it wants access. It wants alignment. And most critically, it wants influence over how its weapons are used, how military decisions are made, and how strategic doctrines are shaped. Achieving that level of influence with India is exceedingly difficult because India guards its sovereignty like a fortress. It doesn't bend to external pressure and certainly doesn't sign blank checks just to appease a foreign partner. From a sovereign standpoint, this is respectable. From America's standpoint, it's limiting. Now, let's pivot to Pakistan. Here is a nation whose military industrial complex has been deeply interwoven with that of the United States for decades. From F-16 fighter jets to night vision technology, from joint training exercises to tactical support, Pakistan's military infrastructure has been profoundly shaped by American dollars, American systems, and American strategy. Even when diplomatic relations have soured and trust has evaporated, those foundational military ties have remained remarkably intact. Why? Because dependence creates a form of loyalty, and that loyalty creates leverage. Pakistan needs the United States, not just for the weapons themselves, but for the legitimacy, maintenance, and training that come with them. That need becomes a powerful bargaining chip for America. It means Pakistan is more likely to comply, more likely to cooperate, and more likely to align with American interests when it truly matters, especially in high-stakes conflict zones or sensitive diplomatic negotiations. And here's the part most people miss. Military support is not just about defense. It's about economics and ecosystems. When a country depends on American arms, it also becomes dependent on American training protocols, spare parts, software upgrades, and intelligence systems. This dependency is multi-layered and self-perpetuating. It doesn't end when the jets are delivered, that's when it truly begins. For a superpower like the U.S., this represents a long-term investment in control. Think about the psychology of this. Dependence changes behavior, whether we're talking about individuals or nations. When you rely on someone for your fundamental security, you begin to subconsciously adjust your decisions to preserve that relationship. You tolerate more, you question less, you compromise faster. That is the hidden cost of military aid. It can buy silence, loyalty, and often obedience. In stark contrast, India's independence makes it unpredictable, not unstable, but uncontrollable. And that is not a risk America is always willing to take. So, what does it do? It keeps a firm foot in Pakistan's camp. Not because Pakistan is more stable or more democratic, but because it is more influenceable. This isn't about who is better on paper. It's about who is more manageable in practice. In the cold world of global politics, manageability often wins out over merit. And let's be clear, Pakistan plays this game adeptly as well. It understands its leverage. It knows that as long as it keeps its military tethered to U.S. supply chains, it holds a valuable card. It can trade intelligence, offer up its airspace, and promise access to regions where American boots are no longer welcome. This is not passive diplomacy. It's a calculated strategy for survival. So, when you hear about new arms packages or renewed military support for Pakistan, don't just see it as policy. See it for what it is: a power move, a silent handshake, a reminder that in the absence of shared ideals, loyalty can still be purchased with advanced weaponry. This isn't a battle between good and bad allies. It's a battle between influence and independence. And America often chooses its support based on control, not compatibility. Controlled chaos. The unspoken strategy of division. There's a hard truth that most people don't want to hear, but it is essential to understanding the dynamics of South Asia. Chaos can be profitable, not just financially, but strategically. When you grasp this one concept, so much of what seems nonsensical about American foreign policy begins to make a chilling kind of sense. You begin to understand why America seems to be in no particular hurry to see lasting peace between India and Pakistan. Let me say it again, because it is the key. Managed instability serves the interests of external powers. A stable, economically integrated and politically united South Asia, with India as its undisputed anchor, is a nightmare scenario for any global power that thrives on influence and interference. The moment India rises unchallenged in its own region, the need for external mediators, arms suppliers, and global helpers diminishes dramatically. The region ceases to be a volatile battleground and transforms into a vibrant, self-sufficient marketplace. That shift would compel superpowers like the United States to step back, to become observers rather than architects. And that is not a role that power willingly accepts. The real fear in Washington isn't just India's growth. It's the potential for that growth to create a new center of gravity. What happens if India's neighbors begin aligning with it economically, politically, and culturally under its sphere of influence instead of the West's? That is the moment America loses its grip, not just on South Asia, but on the psychological and diplomatic leverage it has wielded for decades. So, how do you prevent that from happening? You don't need all-out war or catastrophic destruction. You simply need to create or maintain just enough chaos, just enough tension, fear, and uncertainty to keep India distracted, to keep the region divided, to keep Pakistan in a state of perpetual need, and to keep America in its role as the indispensable manager of that chaos. This isn't some grand conspiracy hatched in a smoke-filled room. It is a time-tested strategy of statecraft, used over and over again throughout history. Psychologically, it mirrors the dynamics of a dysfunctional relationship. If one party fears it is losing influence, it will stir up drama. Not because it enjoys the conflict, but because the conflict keeps it relevant. It forces the other party to react rather than to lead. That is precisely what America's persistent support for Pakistan achieves. It keeps India in a reactive mode, constantly watching its borders, perpetually preparing for a conflict that might erupt, and forever forced to expend energy on defense instead of unbound creation. The philosophical tragedy in all of this is that the people of both India and Pakistan are the primary victims. Most citizens want what people everywhere want: growth, education, innovation, and safety. They want progress. Yet, the cycle of tension continues, in part because powerful actors outside the region continue to benefit from it. Arms sales increase, intelligence operations remain funded, diplomatic influence remains a necessity. This is the invisible machinery of modern global politics. Pakistan is caught in the middle, a nation that could have evolved beyond its military first mindset and its identity as not India. Instead, it is often propped up not for its own potential, but for its utility in keeping South Asia just off balance. Every time a crisis flares up on the border, every time a diplomatic incident dominates the headlines, ask yourself a simple question. Cui bono? Who benefits from this? Who profits from this distraction? Who stays relevant because of this fear? Because chaos, when managed correctly, keeps everyone looking outward instead of inward. It stalls self-reliance. It delays unity, and for a region trying to rise together, that can be fatal. India's greatest challenge is not just economic reform or military modernization. It's breaking free from this cycle of externally induced distraction. It's about recognizing the pattern and refusing to play the game. Because in an age where global dominance comes from controlling attention, If America can keep South Asia's attention focused on fear and division, it will never have to worry about the region becoming truly, powerfully self-sufficient. The final message: watch actions, not words. Let's pull the curtain back one last time. Everything we've discussed, the military deals, the strategic geography, the managed chaos, builds toward this final, crucial point. You can track the dollars, the treaties, and the tensions. But what you can't always see is the most important part of the equation: the story being told to the world versus the one being acted upon in the shadows. This is where the strategy becomes subtle. America's public posture on South Asia is one of diplomacy and balance, but its tangible support for Pakistan is anything but accidental. It's not clumsy foreign policy, it is deliberate. And one of the biggest reasons this strategy succeeds is because of how it is packaged for public consumption. Narrative is everything. Publicly, Pakistan is framed as a strategic partner, an essential player in regional security, and a vital counterterrorism ally. The story is that supporting Pakistan is necessary for the sake of stability, but behind closed doors, this alliance has far less to do with shared values and far more to do with quiet, asymmetric leverage, economic, military, and political. The real deals, the ones that truly shape the flow of power, are not broadcast on the evening news. They happen in classified briefings, closed door intelligence exchanges, and opaque defense negotiations, where agendas are advanced and influence is sealed. The public story is clean, sanitized, and framed around noble goals like peace. The private story is messy because it isn't about peace at all. It's about positioning. Here's the trick. As long as the public is convinced that Pakistan is essential for regional stability, America's actions face little scrutiny. Every arms deal can be spun as an investment in security. Every intelligence partnership can be justified as a precaution against terrorism. But beneath that polished surface, a clear pattern emerges. These moves consistently, if indirectly, work to undermine India's growth, complicate its security environment, and check its expanding influence. It's a masterful game of misdirection. You praise one country in public while quietly enabling its rival. You speak the language of partnership while always keeping your options open with that partner's adversary. This isn't diplomacy, it's a performance, and the purpose of that performance is simple: to maintain maximum control while ensuring minimum accountability. This tactic of saying one thing while doing another is rooted in a basic psychological truth. People tend to believe a story when it's told with confidence and consistency. America, as a global brand, understands this better than anyone. It projects a clean, values-driven image to the world while operating with cold, strategic precision behind the scenes. India, by its nature, doesn't play this game the same way. Its foreign policy is often more direct, its positions more transparent. It doesn't bend its core values to fit a convenient Western narrative. And that, in itself, is what makes it a threat, not militarily, but morally. India's rise reminds the world that there are other ways to lead, that democracy, development, and independence can coexist without Western endorsement. That kind of self-authored confidence makes the old guard uneasy. So what happens? India is praised in press conferences, but often sidelined in key strategic decisions. Pakistan is criticized in headlines but supported with contracts. And the people on both sides are fed carefully curated versions of the truth. This is the ultimate issue. When truth becomes a performance, trust disappears. And when trust disappears, the cost isn't just diplomatic, it's spiritual. Nations, like people, need authenticity to thrive. Without it, they begin to decay from within, not from foreign threats, but from internal disillusionment. The United States isn't just shaping policy, it's shaping perception. It's curating a version of reality that keeps its influence intact, even when the facts on the ground point elsewhere. So, let me leave you with this final thought. In this new world, don't just listen to what the powerful say. Watch what they do, watch where the money flows, watch who they empower, and more importantly, always ask why. Because in that question lies the truth they would rather you not see.